We will start off this morning with Morgan State University head coach Fred Farrier. Morgan State fell to Delaware State this past weekend and will host Norfolk State on Saturday. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm fine, Coach. Just talk about last week's games from the best of your ability, as it was a back-and-forth affair versus the Hornets.
I think there's some good and some bad that comes out of that game. I was pleased with the effort that our kids put forward. We started out the game really hot, took a lead early in the game, and our kids were excited, and it's kind of one of those things where, as a coach, you're saying, hey, we're playing well right now, but this is a 60-minute game, and we got to keep playing, and we got to keep executing what we're doing. And Delaware State did a good job. They hung around. They kept plugging away, and they scored a couple times before halftime. And, in the second half, found some things that were working for them, and we didn't do a great job adjusting to them and stopping them. And, late in the game, they found a way to create some things. And, we got a critical turnover there late in the game where they're driving, we got the lead, they're driving down the field, and we create and get a turnover right inside the 5-yard line, to where we have a chance to, if we can get a couple first downs, we can control it ourselves and run the game out. And, we make a really critical mistake where we fumble the ball in the end zone just on the quarterback-center exchange, and it creates a safety. And then when we kick the ball off, we don't do a great job on our coverage team, which puts them right back in the red zone. And our kids fought and competed. We get a couple penalties there late in the game, which gives them some extra opportunities down inside the 10-yard line. And, it's hard to keep somebody out from outside the end zone from the 5-yard line when they got 10 tries to do it. So, our kids played and kept trying at it, and, just they made a play when they needed to, and we didn't. So, I think there's some things for us to take some lessons from, just in terms of how to finish a game and how to compete for 60 minutes. And those are lessons that are all part of building a program. I think our kids are doing some things really well at times, and the essence of what we got to do is find a way to do those things consistently over and over and over again. Whereas our kids, when we do something well, it's almost like we win the Super Bowl and guys are excited, but forget that we got to keep playing and that it's a 60-minute game. So we're trying to understand we got to win the war, not just the battle, and keep putting ourselves in position to win the battles. But winning a war is like winning a series of battles. You win hundreds of battles, to ultimately win a war at the end. And we're winning some battles in between, but we're not winning enough battles to find a way to win the war at the end of the 60 minutes on the clock. So we're going to keep working towards that. I think our kids have maintained a great attitude. They're working hard, and we're going to do our best to find a way to come out on the positive side this weekend.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, to register a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. You'll hear a 3-tone prompt to acknowledge your request. If your question has been asked by another, you can retract your question by pressing the 1 followed by the 3. If using a speakerphone, please lift your handset before entering your request. Once again, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Trevin Jones with Howard University Radio. Please proceed.
Coach Farrier, good morning to you, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Trevor. How are you?
I'm well, sir. Hey, Coach, talk about what you learned from your team as you watched them over this season, and how impressed you are with their development, and even as you prepare for the next contest.
One of the things that I think our team has done well, and it's a testament to our coaches, is they've really stayed positive throughout the course of this season. When we started out the season, our defense was playing really well, our offense was struggling, and then there was kind of the middle of the season where our offense started to play better, our special teams started to play better, and then we kind of lost some guys on the defensive side of the ball, and then our defense kind of started giving up a few more big plays. And then now, towards the later part of the season, our offense is playing really well. The last 3 or 4 games in a row, we've had 400 or 500 yards of offense, scored a bunch of points, and still find a way to come up short. But positive, as their attitudes have remained positive. They come in here on Mondays and continue to try to get better. And there's some things that we are doing better. There's some things that we have to learn how to find a way to do them consistently. Football is a game of consistent execution, and we're taking some satisfaction in doing some small things, but we're not doing enough of the small things. And that's part of developing a program. That's part of developing a mindset and a culture. And these guys have continued to work hard. And we're gonna find a way to come out on the positive side. And we were 8 seconds short last week, in that game. And I give Delaware State a lot of credit. They hung in there and they never quit playing. But our guys are working hard. They're getting better. Our offensive line has continued to get a little bit better every week, to where we've been running the ball fairly effectively. Some of our younger receivers are developing and making plays. Menage Bailey scored 2 or 3 touchdowns on Saturday, and probably had his best game of his career, and he's a sophomore. So there's some positives inside of there, and we got to find a way to create more positives and just keep those guys believing in our process, believing in our program, and continuing to try to develop themselves into the best players they can be.
And my last question, Coach, you said you were 8 seconds shy of victory last weekend. The Spartans are coming into this game 5 seconds shy of victory, which is kind of a unique situation between the two teams that are about to meet. What will be key in finishing out to get a victory in this game? Will it be any one of the 3 areas of football, special teams, defense, offense, will one way more than the other?
I think all of them play a critical role, and I think teams are misguided if they don't believe that every role is very important in terms of contributing to winning a football game. For us, we got to, number one, protect the football. We got to tackle on defense, and we got to execute on offense. I think the big thing for us is just finding a way to put 60 minutes of football together with all 3 phases of our team. Like I mentioned before, there's been games where our defense plays lights out, but our offense doesn't show up that day. There's been days where our offense is playing lights out, but our defense struggles that day. There's been days where our offense plays okay and our special teams are struggling and we're giving up field position. So the key for us is to find a way to get all 3 phases to play together at the same time. We've been battling a few injuries and a few shifting around some lineup changes. But those are just opportunities for some younger guys to get a chance to play. And any time a young man goes to college to play football, you're looking for that opportunity to play. And we got to have 1 or 2 more guys step up and make 1 or 2 more plays for us to finish these games off the right way. Again, our team has been progressing very well throughout the course of the season. Not well enough to finish out with wins, but doing more positive things collectively as the season has progressed, and we're going to keep trying to do that. But we got to get positive performances in all 3 phases. We got to protect the football, we got to tackle on defense, and we got to find a way to make something positive happen offensively.
Appreciate your time this year, Coach. Thank you, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Ty Miller with SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Coach Farrier, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ty. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. As the season gets ready to come to a close, how eager are you to get on the road to recruiting and to turn the page on this year when you were in close games and looking at the prospects of what it could bring next season?
I just came out of a meeting with my coaching staff, and that topic kind of came up. But the true reality of this, Ty, man, is whether we're 1-9 or we're 10-0, we get to come in here every day and try to make an impact on the lives of kids. And what we're coaching, the plays that we're calling, the game plans that we're putting together, they're no different whether we're 10-0 or we're 1-9. And we get a chance to come in here every single day with a smile on our face and make an impact on these kids to where we're preparing them for life. Obviously, and really importantly, we want to win football games. But the key to what we're doing is trying to get kids to understand and believe in themselves and believe in our process and believe in our program. And we're taking strides to that. To be honest with you, I wish we had 6 more games because I think we're really close to turning the corner. And as soon as that light switch goes off, I think the results are going to be drastically different. I wish 1 or 2 things would have went a little bit differently for us throughout the course of the season, and I think where we're sitting at right now is a completely different conversation. So I'm definitely not in a position or a point where I want the season to be over. I want as much time as I can get with my kids because I think they're beginning to get it. I think they're beginning to try to do the things that we want them to do. We can see progress. We can see guys who were not as confident early in the season playing with more confidence and doing things that they were unable to do at the beginning of the season. Yep, we want to get to recruiting. We want to bring in some more players. We want to add to the guys that we got. But we want to coach these guys. We want to keep helping these guys get better and keep getting them to believe in our process and believe in our program and, most importantly, believe in themselves because these guys know they can do it, but that belief that they can consistently execute what we're asking them to do is really what we're chasing. They know they can do it sometimes, but when we get to adverse situations and tough times, we got to coach them through those situations to where they know if they dig down and they trust their coaching, they trust their process, that they can get done whatever it is that we need to get done. So we're going to keep coaching them. We're going to come to practice and work every day trying to get these guys better, and I can't wait to get out on the field on Saturday. And again, like I said, I wish we had 6 or 7 more games. I don't want the season to end. This is what we do. And, I'm not at all giving up on these guys. These guys have been great all season, and they continue to be phenomenal. I mean, I got kids in here right now watching film in the weight room, doing the things that we're asking them to do, and we just got to find a way to consistently to better execute 1 or 2 more plays over the course of the game, which is the difference between winning and losing. So we're going to keep coaching that. I'm excited to be in here, and shoot, these guys are working hard, and we can't wait to get to practice and get to the game on Saturday.
We're now joined by Florida A&M University head coach Alex Wood. The Rattlers were off this past weekend and returns action as they will face Bethune-Cookman in the annual Florida Classic. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Ryan. How are you?
Fine. Coach, talk about the bye week and just what took place in the program.
Well, we typical bye week. Obviously, you try to take care of some fundamental things in terms of football as far as our practice was concerned, and give our guys a chance also, those that need it, to get in the training room and do some rehab, and also just kind of take care of our players and our bodies, as we played obviously the majority of the season. So that was our focus this past week, and now we're back in. Obviously, we're back in Sunday with more treatment and also weightlifting this morning, and a little practice on Monday, weightlifting this morning, and then get ready for the game the rest of the week. But our bye week was mostly about fundamentals and getting rested up.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. To retract your question is the 1 followed by the 3. If using a speakerphone, please hit your handset before entering your request. Once again, to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad. So again, ladies and gentlemen, you can register for a question by pressing the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Trevin Jones with Howard University Radio. Please proceed.
Coach Wood, couldn't let you go without speaking to you, Coach. Thank you for your time so far this season. Do me a favor,
Okay,
Coach,
Trevin.
and I'll ask you the same question I asked Coach Farrier. Talk about the growth and development of your team over this past season, and did anybody or anything particular about the Rattlers surprise you this year? They've been in close games all year long.
Well, our team, I think, has developed each and every week. We've gotten better. You never stay the same in this business. Obviously, you either get better or you get worse, and I think that we've gotten better in a lot of respects, in terms of our ability to compete and execute plays and be competitive in our conference. Surprises always, pop up, guys that play well. And I don't say surprise. We expect our guys to go and play well. We think we coach them that way to be fundamentally sound and to be motivated to want to go play, their best football each and every week. Things do happen, though. Obviously, once the whistle blows, that sometimes we turn the ball over one time too many that we don't want. But so those kind of things, that's part of the game. But really, no real surprises. Just pleased that we're continuing to make progress. And guys, I tell you what, we had a spirited practice, two last week, and then one yesterday, getting ready for Bethune, and it was fun watching our guys just play football, against one another. This time of the year, we're working a lot of ones versus ones, twos versus twos, and guys have fun doing that. So that was good to see in our practice sessions the last couple of days.
And, Coach, I'm going to take this opportunity to try to get you to talk about a particular player, or a couple of them if you don't mind. Ryan Stanley and Henrillis, I believe Ricky. They looked good towards the end of the season, and I'm thinking they were consistent for you all year long, correct?
Yeah, Ryan started off, our quarterback, of course, you talked about, without any turnovers. I think the first 3 to 4 games, I mean, we had very minimal. I mean, we had 0 turnovers, I know, in 3 of the 4 games. And then we kind of blew up in that Norfolk game, and I don't know, fell off the wagon, so to speak, and then started to get a little started to get worse actually in that area, and then we kind of reeled it back in again, and we're back to minimizing those. He is, and then throwing for triple digits. He's 200 yards plus passing. He's got more touchdowns than he has interceptions, so that's really important. That ratio is really important in terms of how he ranks as a quarterback. He's really done a great job of recognizing 4 weak, 4 strong in the run game in terms of getting us into the right runs, and obviously when he does that, that gives guys like Devin Bowers and Henrillis, who you ask about specifically, a chance to run the football and showcase their talents as running backs. Ricky's a strong guy. He's a redshirt freshman, strong guy. He's got good speed, can get to the edge. Has demonstrates good balance. Hard to bring down at times, and does a good job of protecting the ball. So again, those guys, were pleasurable to watch play, and we get a chance to watch them one more time this next Saturday.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Neldon Beal with Inside Sports. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Melvin, good morning. How are you?
I'm well. Talk a little bit about the health of the team going into the Florida Classic.
We see, we're banged up. Obviously, like most teams are this time a year. We're gonna have some guys, probably sit out. It's not conclusive yet. This last game, but we're gonna work through it. Hopefully, find out Wednesday for sure. But we may have to have a couple starters sit out this last game and start getting work done for next season. But in general, our health is pretty good. We got some bumps and bruises, but guys are playing through some discomfort, obviously. But the health of the team is relatively good.
Bethune-Cookman has been playing well of late. What are your observations on what you expect to see from them in the Classic?
Well, the same. They're a talented football team. Without question. They're very, very explosive. A physical, type team, and that's what we expect in the Classic. And so, not much different than what we've seen the last few years.
The preparation for the Classic is a little bit different from other games. There's a lot of activities. What do you guys do in particular to adjust for a Classic of this nature?
Well, we just try to stay focused, and obviously you still have to go to school. You still have to practice and prepare and those things, and that's for our guys for right now. We really don't get impacted by all that until we head out of here Friday and head down to Orlando, and then it's mostly all day Friday, and obviously I think I'm not naive, and there's impact other ways, with family and those kinds of things. People wanting to go to the game. All these players, know one another. They're Florida kids predominantly, not exclusively, but predominantly. So that kind of thing is going on, I'm sure. And so we have to just make sure we talk to our players about staying focused on the task at hand. But really, in terms of a lot of the hoopla and all those kinds of things, it doesn't start to impact us until Friday.
Next up, we have Bethune-Cookman University head coach Terry Sims. The Wildcats defeated North Carolina Central this past Saturday, and we'll also head down to Orlando to face Florida A&M this Saturday in the annual Florida Classic, which will be shown live on ESPN Classics. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine, Coach. We said last week the matchup against Central would be a tough one, and it lived up to the billing. Just talk about the game as a whole, and specifically what I know is going to come up, but what happened at the end.
Well, I think if you really look back, and Coach Mack and myself both said it earlier in the week, we knew it was going to be a tough game. We knew it was going to be a hard-fought game because you have two talented football teams and two great coaching staffs. So we knew it was going to be a tough game. We knew we would have to play for 60 minutes. Didn't know it was going to come down that close to the 60 minutes, but we knew we would have to play a complete football game. And, I can take nothing away from those guys because they drove the ball down with less than a minute left on the clock and scored. But right at the end, they got a penalty, and that just put us in position to take the penalty on the kickoff, and we got positive yardage out of it, and our quarterback went out and he made a play. So I don't think I've ever been a part of anything like that. It was definitely a great moment, but again, both football teams, both coaching staffs did a great job on Saturday.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to register for your question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. To withdraw from the question queue is the 1 followed by the 3. If using a speakerphone, please lift your handset to enter your request. Once again, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports Page. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm great, Luke. How are you?
Okay. We talked about how last year situation year long was quite interesting. How would you contrast that to what you faced this year?
Well, we had a few trying situations early in the season, but there were things that we could not control. So, after playing Miami early, we had the hurricane, and we were displaced for 11 days. We had to stay in Louisiana for 5 days. So I think, having all that stuff happen early in the year, it just kind of pulled our football team closer together. The thing I think we are not experiencing as much this year are the injuries. We have more of our guys that are staying on the field, and they're continuing to help us play. We lost a few guys along the way, but I think having to play a lot last year helped a lot of our younger guys out that are having to step up and play now.
How much do you think about the fact that you're, at the conferences about the crown champions, that you're 7 points away from being in that circle yourself?
Well, honestly, you can't help but think about it, but you just have to go out and play the football games. We try not to put a lot of stock in it and dwell on it too much. It's human nature. You're going to think about it. You're going to look at all the odds. But at the end of the day, you just got to prepare your football team and go out and play.
What's the biggest thing about this game, Coach, that's defined the way this game has gone over the past 3 years? The game coming with Florida A&M.
Well, I think any rivalry game, you have to throw the records out the window. You can throw the records away and not be concerned about what this team did against another team, anytime during the season, because a lot of these guys play with or against each other in high school. They know each other well, and it's just a rivalry between the two universities. So there'll be a lot more adrenaline in this game. It'll be a lot of emotions in this game. So I don't know, if you can compare it to anything else, and I don't think you can try and get prepared for it any other way. You have to continue to stay consistent and do the things that you've been doing all year to get your team ready, and just try and keep you guys away from as much of the fanfare, the festivities as possible, because it's going to be crazy in Orlando on Friday when we get there. It always is. You just have to do a great job of keeping your guys focused and keeping them away from everything that's going on around them.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Neldon Beal with Inside Sport. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Talk a little bit about the health of your team coming into the Classic.
I think we're as healthy as you can be this time of the year. We have some guys with some bumps and bruises, but we still got to go play. So I think as far as if you say how are we health-wise, I think we're healthy enough to go play a football game. We'll have our guys lined up, ready to go. You're gonna have 3 or 4 guys that are probably a little bit more banged up than usual, but we got to go line up and play because they're gonna kick the ball off anyway.
What are your concerns about this Florida A&M football team? It's been an interesting year for them. What do you expect from them?
Well, I expect a great football game. I mean, you can watch them on film, and you already know it's a team you can't take lightly. I mean, they have not been blown out in any football games. They've been in a lot of these games this year. They've led a lot of these games this year. So, the talent is there. They're just missing a break. They need to get a break to move ahead and hold a lead. And hopefully we don't allow them to do that on Saturday. But they're an explosive football team. They have a couple of good backs. They have some very good receivers. And they have a quarterback that can get the job done. He can manage the game. And they have a defense that flies around. So we got our work cut out for us on Saturday. And we just got to make sure we prepare.
I'm sorry. Finally,
no, go ahead.
Your assessment on your team. What do you think you guys are doing for your play? Are you hitting on all cylinders at this point?
I still don't think we're hitting on all cylinders. We still, have a lot of mistakes during games. We still feel like we're leaving a lot of plays out on the field. But the thing that I am impressed with, these guys are finding a way to win. And that's the important thing. So I think, we're playing okay, but we definitely can play better. And we just got to figure out a way to, again, we're decreasing our penalties, but we're going to try to get them down as close to 0 as possible. And we just got to make sure we make the plays that are on the field for us to make.
We will now be joined by Delaware State University head coach Kenny Carter. The Hornets are coming off a victory over Morgan State this past weekend and will close out the season this Saturday on the road at Florida State University. Coach, good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm fine, Coach. Talk about last week's game as it was a back-and-forth affair as your team came out on top.
Oh, heck, I don't know about back and forth. They jumped out on us 21-0, and our kids showed great resilience and got themselves in a position to go win the game. Just about everything good and bad happened all at the same time. But the great thing about it is every scenario that happened during the game, we had prepared them for throughout the course of the season, and to have the really the fortitude with still having 7 starters lost after game 3, just gave us the opportunity. And a lot of the coaches are saying, I heard Terry say it, and Fred say it. When you have to play so many young guys, it just helps you for what you're going to have in the future.
And talk about, Coach, this week's game. You're done with conference play, but you head down to Tallahassee to face Florida State. So just talk about what you expect to see in this contest.
The good thing about playing this game, and I thought about it when we scheduled it, because we played West Virginia earlier in the year, who was a top 25 team. Our kids have been in this; they've had this experience already. So having to deal with the whole deal with going into a BCS stadium and dealing with the crowds and all that stuff, we won't have to worry about that. Our guys have gone through that. So now, who would have ever thought at this point during the season that this game would have relevance to Florida State? It has significant relevance because they have to beat us to be bowl eligible. And so our kids understand that, and they're excited. They're very excited about playing this game. Again, because it's a BCS school, but it's just an opportunity to finish out the year coming off of a win against a very, very good opponent.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. To withdraw your question is the 1 followed by the 3. If using a speakerphone, please have your handset before entering your request. Once again, it's the 1 followed by the 4 to register a question. Our first question comes from the line of Ty Miller with SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Coach Carter, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Miller.
Coach, you mentioned West Virginia, and you played well in that game, particularly in the first half, and now you're taking on Florida State, and it's BCS-level talent. Can you identify 1 or 2 players on your team who not only has BCS talent, but maybe next-level talent to the NFL or the CFL?
I think that our left tackle, and Joshua Falla, he's a 6'6", 365-pound kid who's got great feet and just has played well all year. Has the potential for that. I think that it's a little bit too early to project, but I think we have a couple of receivers that have a really good talent level, and then we have a defensive lineman that I feel will get a quality look. Whether or not those guys are draftable, but would have a chance to at least get into somebody's camp. So those are guys that I would identify.
Coach, normally these types of games take place at the beginning of the season, just like your West Virginia game, and it helps you as you go along into your conference schedule. So being that this is at the end of the year, how much will it be a springboard for you as you move into 2018?
Oh, tremendous! Because anytime you have an opportunity to play a game that your kids are going to, look all the way down the schedule and say, hey, that's the last game of the year, but look at who it is. And I mean, it's a storied program. There's so much that's involved in it. It's almost like we're going through the Bobby Bowden coaching history, because he was at West Virginia and Florida State. But it's a great situation for our kids, and they're very, very excited and understand the importance of it, simply because, just like you said, the guys that have the ability to possibly be looked at as NFL players, well, if you want to get great film, play well against these guys. Play well against West Virginia. That's going to be the biggest thing that you can put on your itinerary, on your resume.
Hey, Coach, will you give consideration to maybe using more clock management in this game? Because similar to the first game.
Oh, we will. Obviously. Oh, absolutely. No, they know we're going to do it. I mean, it's no secret. We did the same thing against West Virginia. We're going to milk the clock as much as we possibly can. That's not a surprise. They've only kicked off 40 times this year, so that tells you that they haven't scored as much as they would like to score. So being able to keep their offense off the field and then try to make sure that we manage the clock as much as we can and do things to keep our offense on the field will be critical to give you a chance to do something. Heck, I'm not saying we're going to do it to Florida State, but we outrush West Virginia. We had several explosion plays, so we're just going to go play football and let it all sort out as it does.
Coming off a win over Norfolk State this week, and we'll face Hampton in the annual Battle of the Real HU on the Hampton University campus. Coach London, good morning.
Good morning. How's everyone doing?
Hey, Coach, we're fine. Talk about last week's game as it came down to the wire, but specifically just talk about the fight your team continues to display regardless of what situation they're placed in.
Yeah, it was a great college football game. Latrell Scott's done a great job with that team, and you look at who they've beaten, but also the fact that they are winning, going into the last 9 seconds into the game. It's one of those things that, the last team that had the ball would have the opportunity to win. It's for us, this has been an unbelievable season thus far with one more regular season game to go, to know where we were before to where we are now and the opportunities that are presented to this team. So very humble and thankful for outcomes, particularly. I was just listening to Coach Sims, and we talk about being just a few points away. I mean, we was a last-minute win against them, and I saw their last second win. So these teams, again, teams in the MEAC are excellent football teams with excellent coaches. And you look at it and you see week in, week out that you have to be ready to play because at any moment you could not be successful. So, but again, hat goes off to the players and coaches here that just stuck with it. We just love the fortitude that our players have this season and have had in that game.
And this week, your team is set for a rival game against Hampton. So just talk about what you've been able to see on Hampton so far in preparation.
Sure. I mean, it's another good football team that close losses. And you see some of the games that they've won with very talented group of young men. Defensively, they're very good defensively. With Husky being a guy that that's a run and hit guy. Their linemen up front are big. 6'5", 270, 6'4", 308, number 53, number 72. They do a great job. Steve Smith does a great job for them. Offensively, Carter, the quarterback, he's a guy. Number 4 for them. He's third in their rushing yardage. They got Johnson, who's second in their all-purpose yardage. So they got a group of talented, skillful receivers, people that touch the ball that do an outstanding job with it. So, this is a good football team. We're going to have to play our best football game because, as you mentioned, there's always, whether it's rivalries or whatever it is, there's things attached to the significance of this game, and there's a big significance, for us, and as well as for them. If they beat us, it's a winning season for them. So, we're excited about the opportunity and the challenge to go down the road and play our last regular season game.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. To withdraw your question is the 1 followed by the 3. If using a speakerphone, please lift your handset before entering your request. Our first question comes from the line of Trevin Jones with Howard University Radio. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach London. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Trevor, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Always good to speak to you. Coach, can you talk about how key the depth has been on the squad this year as you've gone through the battles this season?
It's been significant. And obviously, we've played 18-plus freshmen. So we got a group of guys that were, older guys that were here, but infused with several young players playing. I think our whole secondary that started this past game was all freshmen. So, there's guys that that have learned how, as the season has gone on, how to become veteran players. There's veterans that because of the bumps and bruises that you get during the course of a season, have had guys come in and step in and play pivotal roles in terms of completing a series or a drive or a play. So it's been again, I talk about resiliency and things like that. This team has really showed that this year. Very proud of them. With this last regular season game, we're about as you're never completely healthy because everybody's got ankle, shoulder, whatever it might be. But we're at a point where there's enough good players that are representative of trying to go in and finish this last game, on a positive note.
And speaking of the last game, Coach, the Battle of the Real HU is a big game, your first time in this series. If things should bounce or roll the Bison's way, and I say that to say, should A&T suffer a loss and you be able to win this game, You're looking at a possible FCS at-large bid. Is that correct or is that incorrect? Because I see 3 teams in the top 25, at least, that have 3 losses on their record this season.
Yeah, I've been part of that process, as you know, in terms of teams. And, again, there's a big if, and there's a lot of things that have to happen. Central, beating a very good A&T team and us being successful on Saturday. So being a 3-loss team with 1 loss in the conference, with a BCS win, a BCS loss, with the last minute in the game, having a chance to go and tie it, a loss to Richmond, and a loss to North Carolina Central, a good football team, a perennial powerhouse, in the MEAC. So it'll be interesting to see. A lot of times the dust will settle and things will take care of themselves. But you're right. There's a couple 4-loss teams in the top 25, and I believe there's like 6 or 7 3-loss teams in the top 25. So it's things that have to occur on the field. The only thing that we can control is obviously being competitive and being on the top end of the score down there versus Hampton. So there's a lot of scenarios, but the biggest thing we need to take care of is just winning the football game and let everything else just kind of play out and see how it plays. It's amazing how last games of the season, I've heard over the course of the season, some of these fine coaches talk about how they were, ties, 4-way ties, 3-way ties. It's and you can see that because you have to play your best game every week. And as I said, there's a lot of really, really good coaches here in this conference, and a MEAC team, not just us, but any MEAC team being representative or having the opportunity to move on, in the playoff situation, I think is positive. I've experienced that, and hopefully things can work out for those that have opportunities.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports Page. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach London. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
Coach, how do you contrast a first year at Howard with, say, your first year at Richmond or your first year at UVA? And does the job get harder as you go on or easier?
Well, I know this, that the needs for young men that we coach, we mentor, we role model to are all the same at whatever, regardless of the level. It's always the first season that you come in that you try to bring or establish your philosophy. We've talked about it, go to class, show class, treat people with dignity and respect, the accountability and responsibility of becoming an educated man in the 21st century. So you bring your values with you, and those who are in the program, either they accept those values and want to be a part of it, or you find those guys that don't have the same type of values, that they move on, whether you help them graduate or whether they decide to move on. So you find in the first year of any program that you want to find like-minded people. You want to establish, your set of standards, and you want to be develop relationships. I believe developing relationships, kids will run through a wall for you, and I believe that's been kind of the thing that's happened for us this year. There's a trust factor. There's opportunities for these guys to come in the office and sit down and just talk, just whatever it is, without the football evaluation added to it. So always the first year is about establishing that connection, and very grateful this year that the older guys really bought into that, and the younger guys see what legacies could be made of if you have that kind of concept. So again, this is a humble situation that we're in. Worst to possibly tied for first. I mean, it's who would have thought anything like that? So I'm just very humbled to be here and be a part of an organization, a team that has experienced this amount of success. I believe we may have more wins this season than our whole senior class has experienced here, and so it's a great thing to talk about and let them go out on.
And just to follow up that, I did have the question about whether it gets harder from here, but how did you do your first couple of years, or your first year at Richmond, your first year at UVA?
Well, my first year at Richmond, I believe that we won it all. We went the whole FCS playoff route and won it all. That was an awesome experience. UVA was a little different. we recruited well and put the pieces in place to follow up with successful opportunities. Because I think in 2011 we went to a bowl game, and the ACC Coach of the Year opportunities were presented because of the staff and the players. So it's some situations very similar, but again, setting the culture, the standards early on, I think become the impetus for success as you build a program. So it's just been like I said, I can't tell you how proud I am of just where we've come from, because I can only talk about what's going on now. People talk about the way we were last year. I can't see the comparisons. I can just see what the expectations are and how we're trying to finish this thing out on a positive note.
Good luck, Coach. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes to the line of Ty Miller with SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Coach London, good morning to you. Just one question. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
In terms of incentives for you as a head coach and for the players, how much emphasis and how much discussion has there been about the fact that Howard can secure his first part of a MEAC championship for the first time since 1993?
Okay, that's it. You just said it. That's I tell you, the questions that have been asked previously, and what has occurred this season with the big win at UNLV, and winning the first homecoming in a long time, having a succession of wins in a row. I mean, there's a lot of firsts that have gone on since the Jay Walker championship season, and so these guys have never been there before. So every step, every road, every path that we take is something new, and I think the significance of it will be probably realized like after everything is over. We'll go back and look at everything that was accomplished. Right now, we read about it, we hear about it. There's social media, but we still have to play a very good football team on the road. We've been very successful on the road thus far, but it's been an immense source of pride. I've seen the school, the university really galvanize in a lot of situations here, and again, words can't express the gratitude and the opportunities when you look into these guys' eyes about experiencing some W's on the field. It's been long since missing, and again, we got one regular season game left for a culmination of a season. It's really been magical for us.
Norfolk State University head coach Latrell Scott will now join us this morning. The Spartans fell to Howard this past Saturday and will hit the road to face Morgan State on Saturday in their season finale. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm fine, Coach. Coach, recap last week's game versus Howard as the offense had season highs in yardage.
Tough game to lose. I thought the kids on offense played hard. We were able to run the ball, and the mix of the run and pass caught Howard off guard, but they responded and made plays at the end of the game to give themselves the opportunity to win.
And this week you faced the Morgan State team that's coming on strong on the offense side of the ball last two games. Just talk about from what you've seen early on in preparation for the Bears.
Well, you can see the guys continue to improve, as the season has gone on. Obviously, you get the guys in crossover tape versus some of the other people that we played. They're playing with a new quarterback now, and I thought the previous quarterback was getting better, but this kid comes in and gives them another dimension of athleticism. They've got two very talented tailbacks, wide receivers that can make plays. Defensively, it's a typical Morgan defense. Athletic guys up front that can run around and make plays. So, what we've got to do is try to come back and find some of the magic that we found last week in the run game and mix the pass game in, and continue to play well on defense to give ourselves a chance to finish up 500 in the conference.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. You can withdraw your question by pressing the 1 followed by the 3. If using a speakerphone, please lift your handset before entering your request. Once again, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. To register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports Page. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach Scott, how are you today?
Good, Luke. How about yourself?
All right. What happened with Jerron, with Pough late in the game? Did you pull him? Did he get hurt? That Harrington ended up throwing that pass?
No, I think he landed on the ball for a play, and he was on the ground, and obviously you get on that turf, and some of the rubber from the track got into his eye. So we thought that he was ready to go for play number 2. We ran the ball, on first down, and and was expecting him to be in the game on second down, and he wasn't. But we already had a play called, and Tripp just came in, unfortunately. Through an interception. We didn't pull him. It wasn't a substitution. He just gone down, and obviously had to miss one play because of an injury timeout. And the second play, we thought that he was going to be ready to go, but he wasn't.
What's the mood of the team after being so close to pulling that kind of the win on the road?
They're disappointed on Saturday and Sunday. We got back together this morning, and they're ready to go. We've got an opportunity to finish 500 in the MEAC, and send our seniors out on a good note. The negative to it is that there's a season that you can look at a bunch of games that you had the opportunity to win. The positive is that the majority of these guys are back next season.
Savage, what's his classification, and what's his prospect for the future?
Aaron has 2 years to play. As everybody asks, they're either probably either a freshman or sophomore. But Aaron has 2 years left to play, and he's been steady all season long. But he's from the Baltimore area, so maybe getting him back up north, got his juice going a little bit. But he played very well on Saturday, and we're looking forward to him playing again well this Saturday, and then 2 more years for us.
What kind of breakdown did you have, Coach, to allow them to march down the field for that touchdown? Any key plays in that game-winning drive?
There was a key play on first down, but we won't get into that one. At the end of the day, they caught a 60-yard pass on first down.
That's right.
And we'll leave that one right there where it is. And from then on, we had our opportunities. We dropped an interception on 4th and 10, and they converted. But at the end of the day, the guys made the plays that they needed to make to win the game.
We are now joined by Hampton University head coach Connell Maynor. The Pirates fell to South Carolina State last weekend and will return to action on Saturday as they will host Howard University at home in Armstrong Stadium. Coach, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. How you doing?
Fine, Coach. Talk about last week's game in terms of what positives that you could have pulled from the contest.
Not a lot, Ryan. We the defense played well, I thought, especially early. I think probably the first 15 plays, the ball was on the ground probably 4 times. Including the opening kickoff and then maybe the second possession, the second play of the game, they fumbled the ball and we recovered. Then they got the ball back again and they fumbled again, but they recovered. And they put another one on the ground, they recovered. So we had a couple opportunities offensively with some good field position early. Our defense was playing well, and we didn't execute and didn't take advantage of those opportunities. And then we was backed up on the goal line, and the punt snap was high, so the punter had to jump and catch it when he came down. He came down on the line, got a safety there, gave him a short field with the punt, and they went up 9-zip. And then on third down, and we got a sack on third down and 30, and the guy got up and looked at their sideline, and they called taunting, gave him an automatic first down, 15 yards, and they went on to score, and it was 16-zip, and they didn't look back after that, and we weren't able to muster a lot. They got a great defense. Buddy's always had a great defense, and when you fall behind those guys, it's tough they was ready to play. It was senior day, and they was better than us.
And speaking of your defense, Raheem Husky continued a strong play across the board. Just talk about who is he and what has he meant for your defense this year?
Oh, everything to it. You know, he's our leader over there. He leads us in tackles just about every game. Has a great chance to be all-conference football player. He's a beast, man. He understands the game. He has a motor. And I don't think he hasn't missed any games. And, you know, he didn't practice today. You know, he'd be banged up a little bit on Tuesday, but that's to be expected. It's week 11, and he plays linebacker, and he's a tough guy. But he'll be out there tomorrow and ready to roll and continue to lead us. You know, he's the only linebacker that's still playing. You know, all the other linebackers are banged up, and secondary guys are banged up, but, you know, everybody's banged up. So we're not making any excuses. We got to go out there and play and get it done with the next guy.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to register a question, it's the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. If your question has been asked by another, you may press the 1 followed by the 3 to withdraw your question. If using a speakerphone, please lift your handset before entering your request. Once again, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Trevin Jones with Howard University Radio. Please proceed.
Coach Maynor, how you doing this morning, Coach?
I'm doing fine, Trev. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Coach. Always good talking to you. Hey, Coach, what are you expecting from the Bison in this battle of the real HUs? You've been here before. Is anything surprising you this season about this team?
You know, they always had, I thought, some good players, and you know, it's always been tough for us playing Howard. You know, every year I think they beat us the first year. We beat them the last 2, but all the games have been close and been tough. And you know, you basically can throw out the records when you have rivalry games like this. You know, the battle of the real HU. It don't matter if they was undefeated and we had one win. It'd still be a close game, and vice versa. So I expect those guys to come down here. They're still competing for a chance to get a share of the title and playoff implications. So we know they're going to be jacked up high, ready to go, and they got a lot to play for. And, you know, our guys, you know, we playing for pride. We playing for a winning season and senior day. So we got something to play for, too. And we expect it to be another typical MEAC football game. It's going to be a one-possession game. The last team with the ball is going to have an opportunity to win the game or tie the game. That's where it's been all year throughout the whole conference. So we don't expect anything different.
And, Coach, let me ask you this question. This year it's actually in Armstrong Stadium, which I think it's been a while since this game has taken place in Hampton. Will that be a major factor, you think, with it being senior day, as you just referenced?
I don't think so. Not in this game. It don't matter if we was at Howard here or in RFK. It's going to be a battle. And home field advantage is not going to really mean a lot, I don't think. You would hope it would, but in this type game, I really don't think it matters if it's at Howard here or if it was in RFK at a neutral site.
My last question, your impression of Kalen Newton?
He's a good quarterback, especially being a freshman. I think he's grown. You can see that his maturity and his development from the first game to this game. He's a great runner. He's probably a lot bigger and stronger than what you really would think when you first see him or hear about him, but he's a very strong runner, and he's really developing the passing game. So he can hurt you with his legs, and he hurts you with his arm. So we have to be careful. We got to keep this guy contained because he's dangerous.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And as a reminder, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. I'm showing no further questions at this time.
Coach Maynor, before we close out, just talk about, we know it's a rival game, But coming from last week's game and getting them fired up for this game, well, since this is a rival, will you have to worry much about motivation, or by being week 11 going into week 12, you still got to have some coaching motivation for?
Well, I think, Ryan, that I shouldn't have a problem getting these guys motivated. We practiced this morning at 6 a.m. or 6:30, and nobody was late. Guys fired around. They was pumped up, and I thought we had a good practice. And again, it's senior day for us. And the other thing is, it's the last football game for a lot of guys. These seniors. Today was their last Tuesday practice, and tomorrow will be their last Wednesday practice, and this is their last week of practice. This is their last football game. So, I don't have to give these guys a rah-rah speech for them to get pumped up to play in their last football game. And then you're playing Howard University, and you got a chance to have a winning season, and so it's a lot on the line, and it shouldn't take a lot to get these guys pumped up.
Our next head coach who will join us is Erik Raeburn from Savannah State University. The Tigers fell to North Carolina A&T State last weekend and will close out the season by hosting the Bulldogs of South Carolina State on Saturday afternoon. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning.
Coach Raeburn, talk about your team's play last week at North Carolina A&T as you were in the game pretty much most of the third quarter.
Yeah, obviously A&T's got an excellent team, and Coach Broadway and his staff always have a good plan. And I was real happy with the effort that we had. We had chances, to really make a game of it, but ultimately, we just had 4 turnovers and then some really costly penalties that that really hurt any chances we had of getting an upset. But despite some early mistakes, we were able to kind of hang in there and battle back and keep it close. But as the turnovers mounted, they started capitalizing on them, and we just dug ourselves too deep of a hole.
And I know you mentioned early in the year you lost your quarterback, but then Devon Gibbons emerged as a worthy candidate to keep the engine moving. Just talk about how has he progressed, but what has he brought to the table that you didn't even expect when he first had to come in action?
Yeah, I think that's a tough situation. Obviously when we signed him, returning TJ at quarterback, our plan was to redshirt Devon but man, we just obviously with TJ breaking his leg in the App State game, we just didn't have much of an option but to stick him in there and play. I guess kind of the things that have impressed me the most is really 2 things. He's a much better runner than he's more athletic than I thought when we recruited him. We really, it's not that we didn't think he was athletic, but we didn't think he was as athletic as TJ was. But we thought we really impressed with him as a passer. We thought he could really develop into an excellent passer. But man, he once he got here, we realized he's a bigger threat with his feet than we initially thought. And then I'd say the other thing is his poise. He for a freshman, and the kind of pressure that he's been under as we've played with 4 true freshmen on the offensive line. He never really gets rattled. He really stays even keel. He just got a great mentally just has a great attitude, approach. Where he just has a calmness about him that I think has really helped him. And as he's progressed through the season.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. To withdraw your question is the 1 followed by the 3. If using a speakerphone, please hit your handset before entering your request. Our first question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports Page. Please proceed.
No,
actually chimed in to ask Coach Maynor a question. But I can ask Coach Raeburn a question too. Coach, I know you went in impressed with A&T. Did they play as well, and did they show what you saw on film?
Yeah, I think they got an excellent team. Their quarterback's having a great season. He has a lot of weapons at receiver. But to me, like what really separates them is they have good balance on offense. So if you try to load the box up to stop them running the football, they'll throw it all the way down the field. And if you try to put nickel and dime packages in there and try to double cover some of those really good receivers, they're happy to run the football right at you. So I think from an offensive standpoint, the fact that the balance that they have and how well the quarterback's playing, I think really makes them a real challenge to defend. And then defensively, I was really impressed with. I think they're fast at all three levels. They really athletic on the D line. Their one DN, just a sophomore, but when you watch the film, he makes plays all over the field. He just plays super hard every snap. Never gives up to the whistle.
Which guy are you talking about on the defensive side?
Number 40.
Oh,
number 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in the secondary, at corner 29, I think he's a really good cover guy. And then, I was real impressed with their linebackers. I thought they had great speed. So not only were they good against the run, but they can cover guys as well. So just I thought they were fast on defense. And when we had some opportunities for big plays, that space closed in pretty quickly, and I attribute that just to their overall speed on defense.
Your guys coming off of 2 wins, did they come into this game pretty confident, and was it just those factors that you mentioned for them not to be able to defeat and upset a team like A&T, but they came in, you thought, and played with a lot of confidence?
Yeah, I don't know. I think our guys were excited to play A&T. I think we kind of talked to them about, hey, when you're trying to build your program, this is a great opportunity to play against the top team in the conference, because it gives you, it shows you, where you're at and how you need to play if you want to be one of those top teams. And so I don't know, if confidence is the right word, but our guys were excited to play because they felt like, hey, this is a chance for me to kind of gauge myself to see what I have to do to help my team, to win a championship. And obviously our start, we got off to a terrible start, fumbled the opening kickoff. They punched it in for a touchdown, and then the second time we get the ball. We get a bad snap, and they recovered inside our 10. We hold them and get a field goal. So, I mean, I felt like we played like a minute into the game, and we had turned it over twice already and gave them 10 points. But instead of, I think in years past, the game would have just completely unraveled and got away from us. But somehow we hung around enough, and we had it close in the third quarter. But we just ultimately the 4 turnovers were just too much against a team with the caliber of A&T.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Tony Smith with Tigersware News Outlet. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
What are some key areas this team needs to improve on for next season?
Yeah, obviously, we have not played as well as we'd like defensively against the run. That'll be a key for us. And from an offensive standpoint, I think the biggest disappointment for me has been, our the number of turnovers that we've had. We obviously we're young. We knew on the offensive line playing 4 freshmen that that there were going to be some growing pains there. But I feel good about all those guys. I feel like they will develop into good players. But our pass protection, we've given up a ton of sacks. I think that has hurt us running the football, and also contributed some to the turnovers. So I'd say those are we got to get more physical and take better care of the football than what we are doing this season.
And how have the recruitment process been so far? Any focal point?
We had a really good recruiting class. Last year was our first recruiting class, and I think we were ranked by one of the services as the 34th or 35th best recruiting class in FCS. So, we're really excited about the guys we signed last year. We're really excited about some of the guys we feel like we have the potential to sign this year. But certainly we'll need another great recruiting class this year to kind of build our depth up and get us to where we need to be able to compete in the MEAC.
And last home game of the season is next week versus South Carolina State. What is key to winning this game? What are you expecting?
Yeah, I think we'll have to play excellent on defense because they have a great defense. So I know it's going to be hard for us to score a bunch of points against the 11 guys they trot out there on defense. So that kind of puts a lot more pressure on our defense to really play their best game of the season. So I think that's kind of first and foremost. We're going to have to play excellent on the defensive side of the ball and keep this a low-scoring game. And then, they have done a great job on special teams. I feel like we have made big strides on special teams from last year to this year. But we're going to have a really good game in special teams to have a chance to beat them. It feels like they block a punt every game. They're really good. They find that they're constantly scoring points on special teams, and making huge plays to swing field position. So we're going to have to play really well to at least, hopefully we can win the special teams battle, but we got to find a way at least to break even with them and not let them steal the game with their great special teams play.
We're now joined by South Carolina State University head coach Buddy Pough. The Bulldogs defeated Hampton this past weekend and will head to Savannah, Georgia to face Savannah State on Saturday. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm fine, Coach. Could you talk about last week's game as you held Hampton to 188 total offensive yards?
Well, we go out and play Hampton at home last Saturday for our senior day. And, the fact that we lost, I think, 3 games in a row, was pretty, evident. The fact that we didn't need to get behind again. And we just, right off the bat, go out and turn the football over 2 or 3 times, actually fumble it 3 times and turn over twice and, give them some opportunities to, go ahead that way. But we were fortunate in the fact that our defense, made some nice plays and kept us in the football game. We eventually at least got moving a little bit and eventually got a score or 2 and got up on them. And, it was really, a kind of a mirror effect of sorts with the 2 teams. I think we both had lost 2 games in a row by almost the exact same scenario. And, neither one of us probably needed to get behind. So once we got ahead, I think that was kind of sealed their fate. At that point, we just kind of held on for dear life.
And this week, you're playing a Savannah State team that's come on strong during the latter part of the season. So talk about what you've been able to observe during your early preparations.
Well, Savannah's really coming on. You're exactly right. And, They played A&T this past weekend up at their place, about as, I guess, tough as anybody. And, it's, painfully obvious that, that they know exactly, what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish, and, how they're trying to attack and how they're trying to do whatever, they may be trying to, whatever they're trying to accomplish on whichever side of the ball. So, this will be a tough deal for us, and, it'll be a game where, we don't know exactly, what their fate is from this point on. So, I'm sure it'll be a, all or none kind of deal, for both of us. We need a win. They need a win. It'll probably be a knockdown, drag out down in Savannah this coming Saturday.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. You can withdraw your question by pressing the 1 followed by the 3. If using a speakerphone, please lift your handset before entering your request. Once again, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Ty Miller with SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Coach Pough, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Ty. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. Can you tell me more about Deshaun Taylor and his play, and also I want you to elaborate a little bit on Darius and his prospects for continuing his career?
Well, Ty, you sound like you're trying to start me to crying. Here on the phone this morning. Those two guys have played for us now, 4 consecutive years. I don't know if either one of them missed a game, in the entire 4-year careers, of their existence here. They redshirted as freshmen here together and then kind of took over from that point. Deshaun is more the meat of the operation, but the meat and potatoes. He's a down here, more of the tough guy. They had a ball that was thrown over the middle of the end zone this past Saturday. Hampton did, and Deshaun is a guy. If he's in your area, and you can see it, he'll hit you. He'll hit anything pretty much that's moving at that point. And he knocks the ball loose, one of those kind of deals. That's just kind of typical Deshaun Taylor. And we always know that he's going to be in the mix of things. And then of course Darius is the sidekick of sorts, except for the fact that and Darius didn't have one of his better games this past Saturday, except for the fact that he had like 9 tackles and 2 sacks and 2 tackles in the backfield, that kind of stuff. So statistically, it was probably one of the better games of anybody in the league. But for him, we didn't necessarily think it was up to the standard that he had set here, over the years. So we were giving a hard time about how poorly he played, and then I look at the stats. I say, ooh, I don't know if I'm quite on the mark here or not, but that's kind of what we expected that guy. So I think that kind of gives you some insight on what we feel he ought to be.
Coach, do you have sort of a bittersweet feeling about the season coming to a close, although you still have 1 game left, and thinking about what the team could have been, but also, like you said, you're losing some key guys, but looking forward to the future?
Yeah, all of the above. I don't know exactly, what the sensation ought to be, going into this time of the year. I maybe bittersweet may be the exact way you put it. We probably need to get away and just kind of, regroup and, try to figure out how to, be better than next year. But at the same time, it's a sad state of affairs in a way where, we really felt that we should have been better. And, we kind of felt that we missed an opportunity here to, to have a much better year. So, we need to get away and get started again. But, the pain of it all, is pretty deep here. And, there'll probably be some repercussions because of it.
We are now joined by North Carolina A&T State University head coach Rod Broadway. The Aggies defeated Savannah State this past Saturday and will return home to host North Carolina Central this weekend in their season finale. The game will also be televised live on ESPN3.com and will be shown later that evening on ESPNU at 10:30 p.m. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ron. How you doing this morning?
I'm fine, Coach. Talk about last weekend's game versus Savannah State. as your team wrapped up at least a share of the MEAC championship?
Well, I thought we played well, and I think Savannah has taken some positive steps forward as a football team, the football program. Really impressed with them and the way they try to attack you and the thing they're doing down there. So hats off to those guys. But I thought our guys played well enough to win the ball game. We need to play better, but it was one of those games that we won, and we're happy to get that win to go to 10-0.
And speaking of 10-0, this week everyone knows that it's stake. You have a rival coming in Central, and we're well aware of the history between both teams. You're undefeated, but also you want to send your seniors off in their last game at home with the win. Talk about just all of those factors becoming in or that are in play this weekend as you prepare to host Central.
You know, that is a lot of factors, Ryan. Senior day, your rivalry, end of the season, all those things thrown into one. It's going to be a challenge for us. You know, I think those guys have done a great job down there. I guess the greatest compliment you can give somebody is that, you know, Central knows how to win, and they play hard. So they have a good football team. So we're going to have to go out and play our butts off and, you know, get after it a little bit and see if we're good enough to win this year.
Thank you, Coach. When I open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to register for your question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. If your question has been asked by another, you may withdraw your question by pressing the 1 followed by the 3. If using a speakerphone, please lift your handset before entering your request. To register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, to register for your question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports Page. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach, we've already talked, but since somebody else wants to ask the question of the new champions, I'll be glad to ask one. How's this one different from a couple of years ago?
I don't know, Luke. We're more concerned about trying to prepare for Clemson. Clemson. How's that come? We're more concerned about preparing for Central this weekend. And, you know, you don't think about those things. You wait till you get to the end of the season, then you try to go over and recap and make the adjustments you need to make for the following year. But right now, all our energy and effort is trying to get a plan to give us an opportunity to play well against North Carolina Central.
And you've spoken about this before, but there is a difference, isn't it, in sharing a championship and winning it outright?
Of course. You know, sharing means 2 or more, and outright, you know, you have an opportunity to do something that you're top of the league alone. And, you know, that's where we like to be. We like to win the thing outright. And you know, we'll have that opportunity this weekend.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Ty Miller with SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach. Good morning to you. Congratulations again for winning another championship. How are you?
I'm good, Ty, and I hope you are.
I'm good. A lot of things are on the horizon. You can win the championship outright, but then, as you said, I read in the papers a couple of weeks ago that your prize is to get to the Celebration Bowl. Is there any added pressure for the team, although all coaches say taking things one game at a time? Is there any added pressure knowing that there's so much at stake, and this is essentially a championship game this weekend because North Carolina Central has a whole lot to play for?
Yeah, they do, and always. I mean, it's just an opportunity to play. That's a lot to play for in itself. They have an opportunity to play this great game that we're involved in. But they have a lot to play for, but so do we. And, you know, again, they do a great job down there. I have to give them their props and their credit. The guys are well coached. They play hard, and they know how to win. I mean, they find a way to win the ball game. And, that's a compliment to them and the coaching staff, the players, and the job they do. So we're looking forward to trying to compete against them this year.
A couple of years ago, your team was undefeated. It was having a great season, and you came down to the Aggie Eagle Classic, and it's just one of those, you had one of those off days. Has there been any thought given to that and how to guard against that this year?
Well, I don't know. You know, you look back and look at things, and you try to get a plan that's going to give you an opportunity to win. They were just better than us that day, and you know, they've beaten our ass the last 3 years. So we just got to play better, and got to play smarter, and got to play harder, and just compete a little bit harder than we have in the past.
Coach Scouts have all talked about Brandon Park and his prospects for the next level. Is there any other guy you can point to that may have next level talent that we have not heard much about?
Well, they're looking at Brandon, of course. You know, they've been 2-3 guys here every week, and I think his stock is rising, and he's got an invitation to play in the Senior Bowl. So he's really, you know, I'm so proud of Brandon and happy for him. Here's a guy that wanted to go to UNC Charlotte when they started their program, and they didn't recruit him. And he comes here and developing to being, you know, one of the top linemen in the country. So, you know, we're happy for him and proud of him, and I hope he, you know, continues to get better, and hope he has an opportunity to play in that league.
Coach, thank you, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
And as a reminder, you can register for a question by pressing the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. I'm showing no further questions at this time.
Coach Broadway, before we leave, speaking of Brandon Parker, and before him, we know what Tariq did, and now you have Brandon Parker going to Senior Bowl. Could you kind of just talk about the level of expectation since you arrived that the Aggie program now has in terms of if you want to get to the next level, this is what you have to do? Just talk about developing that process to where you have guys going to the pros on a consistent basis, especially at a high level.
Well, I guess our process is, you know, we try to build our program through recruiting the high school range. We don't do a lot of transfers, even though we got a couple this year. But usually we recruit high school kids, we bring them in, and we try to develop them. We've been pretty lucky that we're able to hit on quite a few guys, and we're able to get some really good players in here. And you know, Brandon being one, Tariq's being one, but we've had a number of outstanding players that you know, we brought here, and they were able to develop and get better and buy into our system and, you know, grow in the type of players that we thought they would be when we recruited them.
We'll close out this morning's teleconference with our final head coach and Jerry Mack of North Carolina Central. The Eagles fell to Bethune-Cookman this past weekend and will travel to Greensboro to face North Carolina A&T State at 1 p.m. as the contest will be shown live on ESPN3 and shown later that evening on ESPNU at 10:30. How you doing, Coach?
All right.
Coach, just talk about last weekend's game in terms of what stood out after you got back and got a chance to really evaluate the film.
Just probably one of the most amazing games that I've ever been a part of. Had a situation where we ended up scoring a touchdown with probably less than 10 seconds or 15 seconds left on the clock. In a situation where we kick the ball off, they have great field position, and then give up a Hail Mary for a touchdown to end the game. So, you know, one of those situations where we feel like we did everything that we could to put ourselves in position to win, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't our day.
And coming off an emotional game like you played last weekend, and then this week, North Carolina A&T State is right there waiting. You talk about just trying to put last week's game behind you and getting ready for a game such as A&T.
Well, we got to try to go out here this afternoon and put a great game plan together. North Carolina A&T, they're champions this year, and we got to try to figure out a way to go down there. And you know, our rival, which is always a big game, the Aggie Eagle Classic for us. Our young people, they know Western State. They know how important it is to our fans, alum, and not only them, just to us as an overall program.
to go out there and compete against those guys is going to be a challenge within itself. They're a very good football team this year. They're doing some things outstanding, probably better than anybody in the country right now. So we're going to have our hands full.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. If your question has been asked by another and you would like to withdraw your registration, it's the 1 followed by the 3. If using a speakerphone, please lift your handset before entering your request. Once again, to register a question is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. As a reminder, you can register for your question by pressing the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports Page. Please proceed.
Coach, how can you describe the emotions, or if it was a letdown following a game like that? How did you explain that Hail Mary pass at the end of the game to you guys?
We talked about it just wasn't meant to be. We thought we did everything we had, the people back there to be in position to knock the ball down. We actually got a hand on the ball. Probably should have swatted it down a little bit harder, but it tipped in the air, and the guy came from the back door and caught the ball. Just one of those, just really disappointed in the last play of the game. We felt like, throughout the course of the game, when you look at the stat sheet, we dominated a lot of phases of the game. Defensively, they did everything you could possibly do to control the team, especially of the caliber of Bethune-Cookman's offense. We did everything to try to put them in check. I thought we did a good job of that. A couple special teams breakdown, a penalty late in the game after the touchdown that we scored, probably put them in a good position to try to Hail Mary attempt. But, there's really no explanation for it. It's just one of those deals where it just wasn't meant to be.
Now, and I'm sure you noticed, Coach, there was coming off of the Celebration Bowl last year where you had that quote-unquote celebration penalty, having this happen again. Is this and I'm trying to, it was another game, not in the MEAC, but the CIAA had a similar ending a couple of weeks ago. Winston-Salem State's kids ran on the field late like that. How difficult is it to control that kind of situation, and what do you have to do to make sure the kids don't do that?
Very different situation than last year in the Celebration Bowl. That was one specific person. This incident was a accumulation of excitement of a lot of different people. I felt like it wasn't just our players. It was people from the stands, people from the sideline that came on the field as well. So there was a lot of things going on within that last little series to get that flag. But, you just got to keep working. One of those deals where, the guys, they got the penalty and we had to live with it. But at the end of the day, we still had a chance to defend ourselves from the last play. So, you can't ask for anything more to be put in a position to still win the game. And we still had a situation where we still had a chance to win the game even after that incident.
It's kind of a related question, Coach, but with the NFL relaxing their celebration stuff and the NFL players are doing all kinds of crazy kinds of stuff, does that fuel young kids, even younger than professional guys, from controlling themselves in that kind of situation? Or what does it take?
The league, everything these kids do wherever they see on television. So it's kind of all a trickle-down effect. And I'm sure some things will be brought up later on in college about relaxing some of those rules. But it's a little bit different deal as well. We're amateur sports and college football and NFL is professional sports. But it's always going to be some kind of trickle-down effect. So I'm sure that'll be down the pipe here in the next year or so.
Do you think that the 3 years you've been there, you've gone into this game Saturday with the chance to grab the championship from A&T, is that any kind of way diminished when you don't play for that, and is it going to be difficult to get your guys up for it without that being on the line this time?
Yeah, we'll see. I hope not. I think they have a lot to play for. Everybody isn't fortunate to play this great game of football. They got a lot to play for, especially some of these young guys and these older guys. A lot of those guys is playing on Saturday. This will be the last football game they ever play, last time they ever put on pads. So to get a chance to go out there and play the game, and especially against a team of that caliber, who is the conference champs right now. You know, you always want to play against the best, and you get an opportunity to showcase what you can do on best on a national stage on ESPN. So, you know, we'll be ready to play.
Good luck, Coach. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Ty Miller with SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach Mack, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, Coach. Coach Broadway alluded to the fact that his team, your team rather, has been better than his team on the past 3 occasions. Why do you think that is? I mean, what is it about the Aggie Eagle Classic that has brought out the best during your tenure in the Eagles?
Well, I think it's an important rival. A lot of these young people, they know one another. They grew up playing with one another through high school and even through Pee Wee football. They got a lot of friends and families in each other's households. So it's kind of a pride thing, I think, more than anything. That the guys, you know, take a look. They take pride in trying not to not to lose the game and go out there and compete. And all the games have been most of the games that we played, 2 out of the 3 have been really, really close. You know, we got us some breaks last year and was able to come away with a win. But you know, you can always expect it's going to be a tough, hard-nosed game.
Coach, knowing that you can still win 8 games in this season, and you were just within an eyelash of getting a part of the championship, or even competing for a part of the championship this week, how much of an incentive is that? Just the fact that this is your celebration bowl this weekend for you and your players.
I think you're exactly right. This is our version of the Super Bowl this week. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of young people's last game they ever play. So, you know, you always want to kind of go out with a bang, and, you know, no way to do it, but go out there against the conference champs and your rivals and just kind of throw it all out, lay it on the line and see what you got.
Are there any of your players who are playing their last game with NFL body types who may be next-level talent that you can speak of, maybe 1 or 2?
Yeah, I think Antonio Brown, he's been banged up a lot this year, our defensive end, but I think he would have a great opportunity. A lot of scouts are coming around looking at Alfonso Carter, our cornerback transfer from Louisville. And those are kind of the main 2. Reggie Hunter, young man playing linebacker, has been playing great this past year for us. So those guys are all seniors, and they'll be on the field trying to showcase what they can do for one last time.